I'm going to talk to you on a subject that was addressed very briefly by Professor K.D. Dholakia. And I really want to address in this tsunami of technology and alignment options, what have we traversed, where we are and where we're likely to go. So when you look at the TKR changes in the past 2 decades, it's really a measure of trying to understand the dissatisfied patient, attempts to reduce this, which led to revisiting alignment, fixation, and technology, and hoping that these issues, if they improved, would improve our outcomes and survivorship. Let's look at what Phil Noble started in 2006, the dissatisfaction rate. He talked about 14%, and if you look over the next almost 17 years, it's all over the place. You're pretty much still looking at almost a 7% dissatisfaction rate. And if those of us who have been here long enough, earlier conferences used to debate CRPS, patellar, no patellar, CPM, no CPM, tourniquet, no tourniquets. And now we debate something completely different, which is alignment strategies, CPACs, and enabling technologies. And the real sort of course correction happened when attempts were made to adopt these technologies in the hope that alternate alignments, fixation strategies, enabling technologies would give patients better outcomes, better functions, and better survivorship. And what has this really led us to? Let's look at it, some of the figures historically. 2014 article, IB1, done by John Insel's group, 92% survivorship at 30 years. Merrill Ritter's work, 94.2% at 25 years, a greater chance of dying than loosening. And when you look at it historically across timelines, the survivorship of existing procedures done without technology but with sound surgical principles almost showed 98% at 10 years and 95% at 20 years. Cementless survivorship, 97% at 12 years. Why were knees failing then and why were knees failing now? The only thing that's changed historically is osteolysis has gone because we're getting better polys. But otherwise, if you look at aseptic loosening and infection as a surrogate for failures, things have remained pretty much the same. And I think there was this very nice comment that we still haven't been able to address infections in our database. So we came up with this concept of alignment, and now out of a total complex, I could only fit in these many. There are 17 of them. Kinematic itself accounts for 2/3 of them. And we really are in a quandary as to which is the ideal alignment. So I call this the alignment conundrum. And let's look at what literature says. Again, I think the best interpretation is literature. Who will benefit? No clear evidence. Whether you look at mechanical and kinematic, clinical outcomes at 2 years equivalent. And there's a whole host of articles, recent articles, no difference in kinematics. And this is Simon Young's article 2025, no difference. Simon Young, again with the John Insall award paper, clinical outcomes were similar. So what are we fighting over? Why are we splitting hairs? When you look at the tenets of mechanical alignment, like to say it's no longer physiological, doesn't really work, but look at what AOS recommended. Strong recommendations, no differences between KA and MA. Does that make a difference? And this is the real sort of the monkey in the room, if I may say so. The CPAC. What does the CPAC actually do? For me, it does absolutely nothing. What does the literature say? Again, very recent articles, CPAC may identify phenotypes that could possibly benefit from KA. Does matching native CPAC improve outcomes? The answer is no. And this is recent article 2025. So the real issue is, are we changing alignments? Are we improving by getting newer implants? Or are we really creating a new plethora of problems? Robotics, the new kid on the block, there's a tsunami of options with robotics. The trends all over the world are increasing, including in this part of the world. But let's look at what really happens. No clinical differences, robotic versus manual. 24 article, again the same outcomes. We published this in the JU in 24. We get better alignment, better x-rays. We achieve our targets, but do they translate into better outcomes? The answer is no. And there are a whole surfeit of articles which all pretty much address the same thing. This is Jay Parvizi's meeting in Istanbul. The clear winner here was robotics for unicompartment and the acetabular orientation, but not really in terms of the outcomes. The ISHKS survey again pretty much alluded to the same facts. This is really the future, and I was grateful to Stephen McDonald for allowing me to use this slide of his. And this is really the future. So what is technology added? It's a predictable target that can be achieved by most surgeons, provided they understand the boundaries. And it achieves the targets, but not necessarily translates into better outcomes or survivorship. So do you want to really balance your tissues? And you can see here 17 degrees of internal rotation, patellar subluxated, had 3 surgeries for patellar realignment. So metaphorically, you can do what you want. You can spray your car with rust removals and get the car to disappear. This is my favorite little slide, sputum for pregnancy tests. We have a lot to learn in our management of infections. Finally, I like to say TKR and THRs are not surrogates for each other. In TKR, we remove both menisci, cruciates, and expect it to function like a normal. So I'd like to conclude by saying there is no single correct way of doing total knees. You can do it the way that appeals to your sensibilities, as long as you achieve a balanced alignment, whether you use technology or not. Thank you for your kind attention.